Yes, so who can explain me what did we discuss in the last session? So who are we? Are we our body, or are we our mind, or are we soul?
So yeah, soul. That's what I understood from the last session. And a little bit about what exactly is soul and
Hmm.
what, like, how does it work scientifically? And yeah, so that's what I came to know about from the last session.
So why are we not our body? Why can't we be our body?
Because body finally uh, it die, it, it get finished, right? And then why
Hmm.
not mind? Because mind is also changes. The soul is something which is always there. So
Right. So we take different bodies, right, in this birth itself, right? When we
mm,
were a child, we had a specific type of body. And then, as I explained, even science says every 7 years, all the cells in our body regenerates. The old cells die and the new cells gets generated. And when we were in the youthhood, we took a form of body, and in the old age, we take another form of the body. So, but our name still remains the same. So, who are we? So, definitely we can't be our body. Okay.
mm,
So, why we can't be our mind? Because mind keeps changing. So when you work in the office or in your schools or universities, and the professors say, I changed my mind. So your mind also cannot remain the same. So your mind also keeps changing. It is not constant. So you cannot be your mind as well. So then who are we? The only option left with us is we are the spirit soul. And we are taking this form of body in this life to perform some activities, right? And we saw the 5 topics of Gita. We'll do a quick recap. And if anybody has any questions, you can ask before we move on to the next topic. So let me know when you guys can see my screen. I'm trying to share. Yeah, can you guys see my screen?
yes.
Okay. So if you see, I'll just come to the slideshow. Yep. Yeah. So if you see, right, we saw this the 5 topics of Gita and how we are influenced by time and this world. So we are the soul and we perform some activity in this world, and we are all influenced by time. And who controls this whole world? The controller is Ishvara, and he is God, and he is a person. So there are a lot of scriptural evidences, and even Krishna says in the Gita that he is a person. So there are a lot of scriptural evidences for God being a person. So we're not getting much detail into that. And how do we connect the Atma with God is through the process of yoga. The word yoga means connection. So we saw the concept of identity in the last class. So when we have our identity clarified in the first place, then all our doubts will be resolved, the basic doubts. And then we have the nature, how it is created. So what is this world? Why, how did we end up here? who made this and why it is made, and then you will understand why good and bad is happening to you. So today we'll see a bit of nature and activity in the form of karma, and before that we will see some other concepts as well. So then after this, we saw that who are we? We're not our body. So Bhagavad Gita says, as the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. So when we die, we take another form of body. Okay. And what determines our next form, we'll see in today's class. And similarly, like how we change our different dress every day. So similarly, after every lifetime when our lifespan is over, the soul takes on a different form of body. And we also saw the mind and the body are material, but the soul is spiritual. Okay. And then what are the symptoms of the soul? Growth and consciousness. So when the soul is in the body, even if a person is in coma and if he's still not able to respond, which means his brain is not passing on the signals to the body to make the movement, but the consciousness is still there. His hairs grow, his nails grow, right? So the symptom of soul is growth and consciousness. So what is consciousness? So basically, we all talk, even the modern science talks a lot about consciousness. So what exactly is consciousness? So the consciousness is nothing but the state of being aware. That's the literal definition. The state of being aware is called as consciousness. So, what is Krishna consciousness? The state of being aware that who is Krishna is called as Krishna consciousness. So, that's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. That's what he explains and takes us through the journey. So, what is the nature of the soul? The soul is eternal, the soul is full of knowledge, and soul seeks pleasure. It always wants to be happy. So right now we don't know where to seek the pleasure from, and we all derive the pleasure from the material sources. Either, you take it from like money or like possessing things in this world, especially possession gives you pleasure. So when we possess something, we it makes us happy. When we identify ourselves with that particular object in a relationship with that particular object, right? So similarly, any form of love or relationship takes two people. There should be a loving exchange between two people, right? That's how humans also love. Like, say, for example, if you want to love a dog as well, there should be a loving exchange between two souls. So, if you want to know Krishna, then you will have to develop that loving attitude towards Krishna. And then there will be a loving exchange between you and Krishna. Okay. And then you will be able to be happy in that relationship. So we will see all that principles in detail. But in principle, to love somebody, that other person needs to be a person. That's what we learn from our life. And then there needs to be a loving exchange, and only then the love will grow. So, taking care of the body and forgetting the soul, we saw this as well. It's like painting the cage with golden paint, but not taking care of the bird inside the cage. So, we are all taking care of our body. We are all educating ourselves, trying to sustain in this world. Yes, that is our worldly responsibilities. But at the same time, we are forgetting our original identity. So we'll have to build the spiritual knowledge also at the same time and try to relate ourselves more with God. Okay. So why Bhagavad Gita from all scriptures? And we also saw one important slide, right? So can anybody tell me what is that slide talking about? So we had five horses, we had the rope, and we had the charioteer, and we had the chariot, and we had the passenger. So who can tell me quickly what that represents?
horses are the five senses,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and the rope is the dead matter, which is the mind.
Okay.
Um, the charioteer is the brain, um, and the
The
chariot
intelligence,
is
not the brain. The charioteer is
the
the
intelligence. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, intelligence. The chariot is the body,
Hmm.
and the person sitting inside the chariot is the atma, the soul.
The soul, right? So we control our senses, the horses, with the help of the rope. So the intelligence, we have to use our intelligence to steer our mind and make sure the senses go in the right direction. So when we can do that, only when the intelligence is able to understand in which direction we need to go, where we need to go, what is the destination. If you don't know any of this, then you will be going in the wrong direction. And how are we going? With our particular body. Okay, and who's the passenger? Our soul. So what are we doing with this particular body? What is the purpose of life? Which direction we must go? So we need to sharpen our intelligence. So these are the basic things we saw. And then after that, so this is what this picture says. And after that, we moved on and we saw the progressive vision of Arjuna. So how it all started, right? When Arjuna says, basically, Krishna, take the chariot in the middle of the two armies, right? So he's just trying to see with his senses, okay, which is like he thinks that he is this particular body, he is the fighter. And then after going in the middle, so he says that, look at the words, look at the words Arjuna speaks, right? My mind is reeling, right? He says, I see only causes of misfortune. Oh Krishna, the killer of Keshidevan, do not see anyhow, I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsman, killing my own kinsman. Sentiments, right? So we all know what led to that particular scene. So now he starts applying his mind and whatever knowledge, the intelligence he has, and he speaks this verse in the starting. And then Krishna starts talking, which is your scriptures here, and which is speaks philosophy. So when you operate in the body of when you think that your is body or your is mind, all it can lead to on a longer run is hopelessness and depression. So now when you purify your mind, if you want to purify your mind, then you need to sharpen your intelligence with scriptures, the Shastras, and which leads to hope and clarity. And after he listens to Bhagavad Gita from Krishna, then Krishna, this is what he says. Arjuna says, my dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I've regained my memory by your mercy, and I am now firm and free from doubt, and I'm prepared to act according to your instructions. So this is what he says. That's when he understands that he is the soul, and now he has a spiritual vision. Okay, so this is the overview of the progressive vision of Arjuna after listening to Gita from Krishna. So you'll be able to develop a spiritual vision with the help of scriptures. Okay. Any questions until here? Anybody? So we are going to move on to the next topic today. I would like to pause for 4 minutes, and if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask any questions. We all are here to learn. Even if you think you know the answer, it might benefit somebody else. So even
I have one question. Actually, mind is the part of the soul or a part of the body?
so mind, so basically our body is made of five elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Like flesh is the earth component, your blood is the water component, all the different acids in your body which digest your food is the fire component. Then the life air is ether. So this is called as the gross body, which you can see. Your mind and intelligence are called as your subtle body, which you cannot see. Okay.
Yeah.
Your mind and intelligence are your subtle body. So when after this life, when you leave this body, we'll be seeing that in today's class. Your mind and intelligence, whatever you store there, it gets that is what determines what type of body you get in your next birth. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So they are called as the subtle body, whereas your physical body is called as your gross body. Okay, which you are able to see. Any other questions before we move on? Adeep, Ashu, Brandon, Anushri, can we all have the cameras on, please? So any other questions, guys, before we move on to more, a little bit of more deeper concepts?
I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what about feelings? Does it come under the body in that part where you sold, like where Arjuna feels like he doesn't feel comfortable being there on that ground? So, does it come under the body or?
So your feelings are basically
Confuse me.
emotion, right? It comes out of sentiments. So
Mhm.
your mind can actually feel. It's not your body, right?
Mhm.
So depending on your intelligence, whatever knowledge you have, your mind will mix it with sentiments and it creates emotions,
Mhm.
which will make you feel. So when you identify yourself with your mind, you say, I feel like this, I feel like that. You'll start naming your emotions. So emotions come out of your sentiments, so which is at the mind platform. It's not at your bodily platform.
Mhm. And
Okay.
is that connected with soul, or is
So
separate?
so basically your mind is the pathway to understand who you are,
Mhm.
right? So you need to have that intelligence to steer your mind to not go beyond your sense objects. So all fulfilling your senses. So basically always deriving pleasure from the material objects. So basically your mind, currently we are on the material platform right here. Okay. And your mind is here and the spiritual plane is here. Okay. So your mind can either be on the material platform or you can choose to go on the spiritual platform. Okay, so your mind is the, I would say your mind is the covering of your soul. So now we need to purify this covering so that we can see the world through the soul. We'll have that spiritual vision. So once we understand the purpose of life, so currently we are with our mind, we are connecting with all the material objects. So now we need to have knowledge to connect ourselves with the spiritual objects on the spiritual plane. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so we'll move on. So today's topic, we will get to, we'll try to understand what exactly is the difference between philosophy and religion. So we all have, before we go on to the next topic, like a brief 10-15 minutes discussion we'll have. So what exactly is philosophy? What exactly is religion? Why we have so many religions? And, we all will be very peaceful if there is only one religion and there is only one God, right? But actually, that is the fact. There is only one religion and there is only one God. So how come then we have so many religions? This question might come. So we will see all of this in today's class. So I'll give you a quick overview of what is called as a philosophy. Okay. A philosophy is nothing but a school of thought to understand the reality. Okay. So where we ask questions about existence. Okay. So when we say philosophy, there are like according to Vedic scriptures. So what is mean by last week we had a question, can we perceive, can we understand the soul scientifically? So science basically what the question was from modern science. Okay. So science is derived from a Latin word called sentia, which is called as a source of knowledge. Okay, so that is called science. So when we say Vedas are scientific, which means Vedas are book of knowledge. Science is not the modern science, what we call as maths, physics, chemistry, and a bunch of formulas or a bunch of chemicals through which we understand the entire world. So our human senses are, imperfect. Okay. So we make mistakes. Now, you say a railway track, you stand in front of the railway track and you start observing. At some point of time, you will see the railway tracks converging. But is that the fact? The railway track never converges. So, what you see with your eyes, you cannot perceive things as it is. Similarly, your ear becomes deaf outside of some frequency. You can hear only from some frequency. So whatever even instruments which humans come up with to understand this world, it's after all derived from your imperfect senses, so that can never be perfect as well. So we cannot understand reality with our senses. We cannot understand reality with experiments because all the instruments derived is that it's a human behind. So when we say what are Vedas, Vedas are directly coming from Krishna. So he's not having imperfections like us. Okay, he's completely perfect. So that is why, in order to understand reality, we trust the Vedas. That's how we say Vedas are scientific because Vedas are a book of knowledge. And there are like different understandings of Vedas. Okay, there are like six different school of thought. Each school of thought is called as a philosophy. So this is very, very important, right? This will be the billion-dollar question which we have been asking from our childhood, at least me. So I'll try to explain that small few slides. Okay. So just observe this particular slide. So there are like six different school of thoughts. Okay. So one branch is called as Ashtika, like people who have faith in the Vedas. And the other branch is called as Nashtika, who does not have faith in the Vedas. Okay, so say for example, Buddhism, even Jainism for that matter, they don't have faith in the Vedas. And Charvakaism, that's another school of thought where they don't have faith in the Vedas, which means they don't necessarily believe in God. And similarly, people who have faith in Vedas also have a different understanding. So say Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, these are like different school of thoughts. Nyaya says everything can be derived from logic, there is no ultimate cause. Vaisheshika says the cause is atom. Then Sankhya says, the cause is the 24 elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, your mind, body, and like your different sense organs. So everything comes from 24 elements. But the problem with these three, I'm not going deeper, is they don't understand the cause of all causes. They don't have the conception of God. And then comes to Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, and then like other different philosophies like Mimamsa. So what they have believed that there is an existence of a higher energy, but they did not have the conviction that God is a person. And only Vedanta by Vyasadeva, it gives an understanding of the topmost in the topmost platform. So the topmost understanding of Vedas is called as Vedanta, which is called as Vaishnavism. Okay, so that is what we are talking about here. Okay, so Vaishnavism is the most superior, most philosophy, and we will see in the next slides like what is Vaishnavism. Okay, this is just like a quick overview for you guys to understand what is philosophy, like the school of thought. So so these are the different people who have propounded different philosophy. So we are now going to see what is Vaishnavism, which is propounded by Vyasadeva. Okay, so under Vedanta, the knowledge inside Vedanta. Now we are going inside Vedanta. Yes, Pooja, you have a question?
Question was just like Vaishnavism, there's a school of thought which is Shaivism as well, right?
Yes.
So that also falls under the same Vedanta philosophy.
So Shaivism also falls under Vedanta philosophy, but of late the philosophy is being diluted by the disciples of Shankaracharya. So actually speaking, to go more deeper, Shankaracharya philosophy is also comes under the form of Vaishnavism only. So whatever Shankaracharya said, that also comes as a form of Vaishnavism, but we don't consider that as bona fide because here and there the philosophies have been diluted and it comes to a conclusion somewhere, it leads to that we are God. Yes, Lakshmi.
Actually, on that point, I was gonna ask, so does Advaita Siddhanta, like that sort of Siddhanta, come under Vedanta, or is that separate?
So that also comes under Vedanta.
Okay.
So Vedanta has Dvaita and Advaita. Both are two different extremes. Okay. So Advaita doesn't believe that the soul and God, they both are independent. They say both are one, right? Like, no, the identity part is not clear. But whereas the other extreme, the Dvaita says we are completely independent, which means there is no living exchange, right? So there is a problem there also. So what is the balance there, the middle balance? That is what we are going to see, and what brings the harmony of the Vedanta Sutras. So to answer your question, yes, Dvaita also comes under Vedanta, and we will see, in detail in the upcoming slides. I'll explain that part. Okay.
And even so when we say Sanatan Dharma
Mm-hmm.
or say idol worship,
Mm-hmm. So we will
so
get there. We will get there.
okay,
Just give
okay,
a couple of minutes. The next slide talks about that. So the
okay,
sources of knowledge in Vedanta, Vedas have has three different sources of knowledge. One is called as the Shrutis, right? And the second is called as Smritis, and the third is called as Nyaya. So Shruti scriptures, they do not have any author, they exist eternally. Those are the four Vedas. Okay, and each of the Vedas have different sections called as Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, and Upanishads. At different stages of life with different spiritual understanding, we read these different sections of the Vedas. That is how usually people do. And what is Smriti? Smriti is the texts, they have authors and they are based on the Shruti texts. So, say for example, Itihasas and Puranas like Mahabharata, Ramayana, they are all Smriti texts. They have an author and they are actually based on the Shruti. So, Mahabharata, whatever is there in all the four Vedas, it's there in Mahabharata also. And comes to Nyaya. So, these are work involving logic to find the meaning of the Shrutis. So, basically, the Brahma Sutras, the harmony Upanishads are considered to be the head of the Vedas. So to harmonize Upanishads. That's a progressive approach to understand Upanishads. Unless and until you have a proper Acharya, we cannot understand Upanishads. To all the harmony of the entire Upanishads, that commentary also was written by Vyasdev. It's called as the Vedanta Sutra. That comes under the Nyaya Prasthana. So each of the different type of scriptures, they give a different level of understanding. Say, for example, the Shrutis will help you discover who is God. It's called as Sambandha in the Sanskrit term. And the Smritis will give you the process to reach God. Okay. And the Nyaya Shastras, it gives you the goal, the destination completely. So let's not get much into detail. This is just an overview to understand the subsequent side. So this is how Vedanta is structured. So under Shrutis, we have more number of texts. So apart from this also, there are a lot of other texts in Vedanta also, which will fall under the category. Okay. So now with the question to you guys, Bhagavad Gita falls under which category? Under which category Bhagavad Gita falls under? Whether it's Shruti or Smriti or Nyaya?
Nyaya.
How it is Nyaya? We have an author.
Yeah. So Smriti.
Really?
Why Smriti?
Because it has an author.
Author.
So it has an author, and most importantly, it is part of Mahabharata, right? So it's a 45-minute conversation between Krishna and Arjuna in Mahabharata. So that is why it is called, it's under Smriti Shastra, but more deeper if you see, since it is spoken by Bhagavan Sri Krishna himself, it is a Shruti within a Smriti. Make sense? Yeah, makes sense? So Krishna says in Gita, Vedescha Sarver Aham Eva Vedya. I am the compiler of all the Vedas. I am the knower of all the Vedas. The purpose of Vedas is to understand me. So he is the source of all the Vedas. That is why Vedas are considered to be scientific, flawless, right? Now he speaks the Bhagavad Gita, right, inside Mahabharata. So it's technically a Shruti inside Smriti. So you don't have to go around reading so many Vedic texts. So your Bhagavad Gita is perfectly positioned. It can give you the knowledge of the Shruti section of the Vedas and the Smriti section of the Vedas also. Okay, and it will give you the knowledge of the Nyaya section also, and we will see that in the upcoming slide. So that is the understanding we have to come to. Okay, so this is just very basic slides, and there are like, because in most of the places in Gita there is an explanation of four Vedas. Vedas are scientific. When we say Vedas are scientific, you need to understand how come, what is exactly science, where the word is derived from the Latin word scientia. It's called as knowledge. So these are the sources of knowledge, and that is why Gita says Vedas are scientific. So now, any sampradaya, so these are the, like, so Vyasadeva, when he wrote Vedas, he distributed each Veda to one of his disciple, and they split it into different texts, different sections, like different compartments, and each compartment will have samhitas, brahmanas. So totally there are Vedas are having 4,520 divisions. It will take more than a lifetime to go through all of this. So we are in a much more better place just understanding Bhagavad Gita, which is a Shruti inside a Smriti, which will give you all the information which the Vedas have. So that is the importance of what we are doing in Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So moving forward, so we saw these slides also, right? So how can we understand the Vedas? Direct sense perception. Seeing, believing? No. We have imperfect senses. And if you see yourself in front of a convex and a concave mirror, you get distorted reflections. So we cannot acquire complete knowledge with our material senses. Okay, it's not at all possible. So our ears are deaf outside the range of specific frequency. Our eyes are blind beyond a particular spectrum. And there is a Nobel Award winner, Eugene Winger. He says, why even man-made instruments cannot perceive reality perfectly. So we need to take Vedas as the scientific basis of understanding what is reality, how this world was created. All the information is there in the Vedas. And even we have defects like, say, our skin, when we touch with a warm hand on a cold water, water appears cool, but water touched with cold hands, it appears warm. So these are the different perceptions. So with direct sense perception, we cannot understand the Vedas. So then how can we understand the scriptures? Now, say for example, we also have another flaw, that is illusion. Now, if you move front and back, you can see the gray picture rotating. So this is also one of our other defects in humans. And if you closely watch, these flowers will start moving, these objects will start moving. And when you go front and back, this circles, inner circle and the outer circle will rotate. So humans, we all are illusioned. So again, this is one of the defects in humans. So we make mistakes. We cheat people. This is an example of we cheat people. So modern scientific experiments, how miserably they have failed. So we cannot understand with our direct sense perception. We cannot understand by experimental research as well. So there are like many other scientific researchers which failed miserably trying to prove human evolution. Humans have come from monkeys, etc., etc., etc. Okay, Darwinism, Stephen Hawking, so many other philosophies are there, and everything has borrowed knowledge from some section of Vedanta, and which will come under either your Nyaya school of thought or your Vaiseshika school of thought or Sankhya school of thought. Okay, so this entire human body, if you completely analyze, it is made of 20 to 24 chemicals. Now, if I give you the 20 to 24 chemicals, can you come up with a human body? Not at all possible. So they don't understand the cause of all causes, right? So to understand that, we need to take what is called as axiomatic. Vedas are called as axiomatic. So in mathematics, when you have axioms, you don't ask a question how that axiom is coming. Please prove that to me. What is the square root of -1? They say something is on the imaginary plane. We accept it. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. We accept it. And there is no proper definition. So when there is a theorem, there are proofs, but why there are like we accept axioms. So similarly, Vedas are actually axiomatic. Okay. So I'll play a small video. See if you guys can hear this. Let me know if you guys can hear. Yeah, can you guys hear it?
No, we cannot.
No, I can't.
Okay, let me see if I can share. If I'm sharing audio as well. If not, I'll send this on chat. Do you guys know where there is share audio option in Zoom? Okay, so we'll figure that out. So let's move on. I'll send these videos on WhatsApp. Okay, so what we need to understand is, so how can we understand? So somebody was asking the question, what is Sanatana Dharma, the eternal religion? So basically what we are talking about, Vaishnavism, that is the eternal religion. And so how can we understand Vaishnavism, the conclusion of Vedas? So Vaishnavism means worship of Krishna or Vishnu. So what's the difference between Krishna or Vishnu? At your home, you must be a daughter or a son or whatever informal position you have. But at work, you are a different person. You take a position. Okay. So Krishna is himself at his own personal home. Okay. When he is at work, he's called as Vishnu. So for now, this understanding, with this understanding, we'll proceed further. So in order to take care of this entire world or creating this whole world, he clones himself as Vishnu. That's the closest word. He's an expansion. He expands himself as Vishnu. The closest modern word which we can come to is he clones himself as Vishnu. Okay. So now if he wants to, now say for example, if he wants to come and perform some of his activities inside this world, he will follow the process and he will come through Vishnu. Okay, but originally Krishna is the source of all that is in existence. So we will see that as well. Okay, so what Krishna has done is he has given the knowledge of this Vaishnavism under four authorized or bona fide sampradayas. So one is the Sri Sampradaya, and this was propounded by Ramanuja, and one is Brahma Sampradaya, which was Sri means Lakshmi. He has given the knowledge directly to Lakshmi, Brahma, Shiva, and the four Kumaras. Okay. So these are all like different exalted personalities. We will see that in detail. Okay. So the Acharya of the Brahma Sampradaya is Madhava, and the philosophy is Dvaita. Somebody was asking about Dvaita. And Rudra Sampradaya, the Acharya who propounded this view like in this age to the few thousand years back, it was Vishnu Swami, and that's called a Shuddha Dvaita. Okay, what is philosophy? And Kumara Sampradaya, it's Nimbarkacharya. And what we are talking about is the essence of all four sampradayas, which is called as Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and the Acharya is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the Tattva is called as Achintya Veda Aveda Tattva. This was propounded just 500 years back according to this current modern age. So in ISKCON, the principles are completely based on Gaudiya Vaishnavism because it originates from Gaudadesh, which is Bengal. Okay, and it comes under Brahma Madhva Sampradaya because the spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is coming under the Brahma Madhva Sampradaya. So basically, how this knowledge flows down, right? So Vedic injunctions can be understood only via the different acharyas or gurus or spiritual masters who have understood it. Say, for example, in life, when you're lost or when you're traveling, right? Say that you're going in a chariot or going in a car. So when you're traveling, when you're lost, you use GPS. So similarly, in life, when you're lost, you need the Guru Parampara system, which is called as the GPS. So people who have directly received this knowledge, so from Lakshmi, the bona fide disciplic succession comes until Ramanuja. So from Brahma, the disciplic succession comes until Madhva, which means even few thousands of years have passed by, the knowledge has been flowing through bona fide authority via oral reception. That is the best way to understand the Vedas. Okay. And the way Bhagavad Gita is positioned, Krishna himself is talking to Arjuna. Okay. So at this point in time, this much information is enough. You're not diving deep. It is just for you guys to understand what exactly everything is positioned. Okay. And what is Vaishnavism? So Vaishnavism is the eternal religion that we are talking about. So guys, when a lie is told very, very strongly, it becomes so-called truth. And when that so-called truth is believed by many people, it becomes a culture. And when that culture is transferred to the next generation, it is called as a tradition. Okay? So keep this in mind. So now, every philosophy or every bona fide sampradaya will have answers to 5 questions. Okay? Who you are, question number one. Okay, question number one is who is you are? What is the eternal nature of the soul? This is common across every philosophy of Vaishnavism. Who you are? What is the eternal nature of the soul? Who is God? Where he is? What is the destination? Number two. Okay. Number three. What is the means to attain him? This body. Number four. What are the obstacles you're facing when you want to attain him? Introducing karma. Number three. Introducing reincarnation. Okay, number four, what are the obstacles you face while reaching him? That is how the obstacles are coming in that path. Karma, introducing karma. Number five, what do you do after reaching the destination? Every bona fide sampradaya should answer all these 5 questions. That's it. This is philosophy. Now, when these 5 parameters change, the philosophy changes. Okay? And especially the second point, who is God? What is the destination? When that changes, the faith changes. And that is religion. So, religion without remaining elements is a mental speculation. Religion without philosophy is a mental speculation. So, basically, that is the so called lie which it has been transmitting to us in fragments as culture and tradition. So, we all have to take a pause and try to understand from a holistic perspective, not just who is God. This, I'm worshipping this God. This is how we have been taught to. So take a break and reflect back and understand from a holistic perspective the philosophy. Okay, this is Vaishnavism basically. Under Vaishnavism, we have 5 bona fide philosophies, including Shankaracharya's, if you understand it correctly, only and only if you understand it correctly. That is the 6th philosophy under Vaishnavism. That not many people interpret Shankara's philosophy correctly. So basically, the essence of all the 4 Vaishnava Sampradaya is the Gaudiya Vaishnavism. That is the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But at the moment, we are seeing only Bhagavad Gita, the position of Bhagavad Gita, which talks about pure Vaishnavism. What is Vaishnavism? Because when you read Gita, when you come to know that, it talks about 4 Vedas, it talks about different gods. No, of course, Vishnu cannot do everything himself. He appoints, like, is the Prime Minister doing everything himself? No, right?
Mm.
President is silently sitting there. And then we have the Prime Minister doing everything with the help of different departmental heads. Right? You have Minister of Defense, you have Minister of Finance. Like that, we have different devatas or demigods to take care of different responsibilities to maintain this world. Okay? So this entire nature, the presiding deity is Durga Devi. She takes care of this entire nature. And Brahma creates this entire world, and Shiva is responsible for destroying this entire world after a certain number of years. And again, the creation will start. And Krishna says this in the Gita. So let's not get too deep. It's just from a holistic view. We need to understand what is philosophy, what is religion, what is the difference between philosophy and religion, what is the eternal religion, which is Vaishnavism. Okay. And under philosophy, we have 5 elements. What every philosophy should answer: what is Jiva, who you are, the eternal nature of the soul, who is God, what is his destination, what is the means to attain him, what are the obstacles when you attain him, how do you overcome the obstacles, and what do you do after reaching the destination. This is Vaishnavism. Now, any questions until here? We will talk a bit more on karma and reincarnation. Any questions until here?
I have a question.
Hmm.
So when you explained about like lie, and then how
Yes.
people believe, and then it becomes culture, and then it's repeatedly, then it becomes tradition. So is tradition a lie? Then like at
That
the
you will have to take a pause and reflect on what you have been told
end.
and connect it with Vaishnavism and see if it makes sense. So any tradition or religion that you follow, it should have a philosophy. Religion without philosophy is a mental speculation. So you will get the right understanding of who you are, what you're doing in this world, only from the philosophies defined by Vaishnavism. That's
Okay.
the essence. So all the other, I won't say it is wrong. I would say it is incomplete. It will give you a rough understanding. It will lead to confusions because if you see, religion is inconsistent. Religion is very, very inconsistent. But philosophy, if you see all these 4 sampradayas, the 5 parameters, it will never be inconsistent. So if you want to worship, there are like different spiritual worlds also, depending on how you want to worship God, right? So accordingly, there are different planets. So now speaking about the third point. So let's talk about karma. So what is karma? It's very, very simple. So basically, Shastras say there are 4 things which are predetermined when you take birth. The amount of times you breathe, your wealth which are going to accumulate, the knowledge, the material knowledge that you're going to gain, and the people you come in contact with. How much ever deep if you go, these 4 questions are predetermined at the time of conception when you are in your mother's womb. So the amount of times you breathe is what determine how long you will live. It's all predetermined. Now, the activities we might do good activities, we might do bad activities. Both generates karma. So now you will be given a certain amount of breath in this lifetime to purify whatever karma you have accumulated from your previous birth. Now, if you don't have a proper understanding of Vaishnavism, or if you don't have a proper understanding of the principles of Gita, which is nothing but Vaishnavism, then whatever actions you do will keep adding on to your karma. So your karma is like your bank account. You have credit and you have debit. You do bad activities, your credit increases. You will take the next another body, depending on how much ever bad activities you have, to purify. When you do good activities, it is debit. Okay. And Vedas, 95% of the Vedas is it says, okay, what you do, what type of karma you get. Okay, so this is basically the concept of karma. So now what determines Now, say if your mind is not fully purified, then you will not know which activities will lead to good karma, which activities will lead to bad karma, right? So when your mind is in a mode of, like, there are like say good, bad, and ugly, right? So basically, whatever activities you do fall under these three categories. This is what they call as mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. Okay, so certain activities will fall under mode of goodness, whatever you do, like helping people and trying to understand who is God and eating clean vegetarian food. All these are considered to be in mode of goodness. And what are the activities supposed to be in mode of passion? Uncontrolled desires, you know, propensity to make or accumulate more things that you actually don't need. We don't say it is wrong, but these are all considered to be in the mode of passion. And what is considered to be in the mode of ignorance, like killing some other souls for fulfilling your desires, like eating meat, smoking, drinking, gambling. These are all considered to be in the mode of ignorance. So your mind will fluctuate between the three modes. How you are going to regulate it, that is what we'll see in the upcoming sessions. So now, depending on whatever activities you perform, your consciousness, we discussed, right? Your mind is here. So depending on your intelligence level, you perform certain activities. If you perform in the mode of good, bad, or ugly, it will be on the material state. When I say even mode of goodness is on the material state, is because you have the intention to take credit for what you do. So the moment you have that intention to take credit for what you do, which means you are still on the material platform. So you have to come beyond the three modes of good, bad, like goodness, passion, and ignorance, and be on the spiritual plane. And the process to train your mind to do that is what is Krishna consciousness, which is called as the Bhakti Yoga, which is what Vaishnavism teaches. And different sampradayas give you a different process. The process that is fine-tuned, essence of all the sampradayas, which can be actually practiced in this modern age, is what we say as Krishna consciousness. Okay. And when we say Krishna consciousness is a hypothesis, which means you do this will happen. You follow the process, it gives you results, it is measurable, it is testable. That's exactly what we say as hypothesis. You should be able to measure it, you should be able to experiment it. So when you go to university to study, right, you have a professor and he will teach you some things. And then you will go to the laboratory, you will experiment, you will observe the results, and then you will confirm. Similarly, there is a guru here, an acharya here. He is similar to your professor. He will tell you the process. You follow the process, you will see the results, and you will verify the results. And then you will accept it as a lifestyle. So, with whatever, if your mind is not purified and you still have certain desires in your mind, according to whatever desire you have at the time of death, you will get a certain body as per that particular desire. That is reincarnation. That's it. So we saw what is karma, how it is positioned in the philosophy, and what is reincarnation. So now it's open to questions. Any questions, anybody on these concepts?
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
So the points which you're right now mentioning, that point one is the topics which we are talking about, nature, karma. That's
Yeah.
are the topics. I actually wanted to see that slide. If you can just show me again the slide which had all the points.
Yeah. I think you're talking about this slide, right?
Yeah, this one. Okay.
Yeah.
Identity,
So right now we are talking
nature,
about activity, and we saw a bit of
okay.
there also.
Okay.
We saw
Okay.
both.
Okay. I just got a little confused with the
We saw a bit
topics
of both.
actually.
We saw a bit of both. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So whatever karma,
Time and then karma. Okay.
yeah, whatever karma you accumulated in your previous life, you will
Mm-hmm.
have to purify that in this particular life. And that is why good things happen to bad people. I mean, bad things happen to good people.
Yeah.
You all of you will have a question. So why I'm having, so now say for example, you take everything and you take a pot, okay? And
Mm-hmm.
you have a pot of rice. Now,
Mm-hmm.
when will karma take effect? You will never know. Okay? All the bad things you have done will still be inside that pot. Now, when you make a hole in the pot, for some time, good rice will come. Eventually, at some point of time, bad rice will come. And then again, good rice will come. Right? So everything, water has been accumulated, will take effect at certain point of time. So if you generate bad karma in this lifetime, you will have an opportunity to purify this in this lifetime if you take up any spiritual practice. If not, you will have to purify it in the next lifetime. So what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita is, you take up the process of bhakti, then he will help you free from all sinful reactions. So you can't stop the karma from being coming to you, but the way you react or the way you see it can change. So that knowledge is what Krishna says. So now see the importance of Bhagavad Gita. This is exactly what I was talking. So it covers, you know, the Shruti section of the Vedas also. It covers the Smriti section of the Vedas also. And it covers the Nyaya section of the Vedas also. Discover who is God, discover who is the Supreme, and the process to attain the Supreme, and the goal. Okay. So these are the different texts in Bhagavad Gita, and I've just put one screenshot from each of the texts. So Krishna clearly says, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Understanding who is Krishna, the discovery. Now, the process. Engage your mind in always thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisance to me, and worship me, being completely absorbed in me. Surely you will come to me. But he never said, don't do any activities which you're supposed to purify your karma. Yes, Pooja.
So my question is, you mentioned that this is a hypothesis, right?
Yes.
And you also mentioned that you can test it out, right?
Yes.
And so can you give us an example what you mean by testing it
Yes.
out?
Okay. Sure. So now we will see the last slide. So the goal is, my dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service I can be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way you can enter into the mysteries of my understanding, which is the goal. To understand, try to come to a conclusion of who is Krishna, where he is present. Okay. So now coming to Pooja's question. So how are you going to test this process? So in most of the places in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says to chant the glories of mind. Okay? The process of testing the laboratory is this, the japa and the beats. These are the beats, and you chant the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this Vedic mantras, this has been scientifically accepted. Vedic mantras pronounced at a certain frequency rewires your brain chemistry and it purifies your mind, right? So the most easiest process for purification is chanting the holy name. So now say for example, when you want to, let me explain it this way. So when you want to derive eternal happiness, right? You can derive it only who actually has it. Now we all come to a conclusion that okay, God is established and there is a spiritual world, and the nature of soul is to derive pleasure. And once we go to the spiritual world, following any of the Vaishnavism philosophy, we will be eternally happy. Now, how to test this basically? So when you want to love somebody, what you actually do, right? Whether a man falling in love with a woman or a woman falling in love with a man. You first send some texts, you call, you get to understand that person, then you date, then you get to know each other's interests, and you fall in love. That is the process, right? Now we are saying Krishna is also a person. Now that texting and SMS is nothing but you're chanting. Okay? That's the first step of the process. The second step of the process, getting to know Krishna, is nothing but reading Bhagavad Gita. And when you have little bit of faith and when you start accepting this, you will start coming to the temple when you love God. Very simple process. So that's the recommended process for this modern age. So each and every Vaishnavism Sampradaya will have a process. Okay. So Krishna is in his home palace and Vishnu is in his office. As Vishnu, he's in his office. Whether you want to go to Vishnu, whether you have access to Prime Minister's office, or whether you have access to Prime Minister's personal home or his bedroom, the process will vary wherever you want to go. And the most easiest process is by chanting the glories of holy name and reading Bhagavad Gita. That's the easiest process, which is recommended for this modern age, wherein we can take care of all our families, responsibilities, do our duties also, and at the same time, increase the spiritual knowledge. And finally, all our actions will be connected to Krishna. So that would be the only approach wherein you can get rid of this reincarnation process.
So you're explaining the process, but how are we testing it out? You mentioned
Yes,
that we can test it. Is that what?
yes. So the testing it is by chanting of the holy name. So when you chant the holy name, so automatically, and when you read Bhagavad Gita every day, your mind will get purified, right? And once your mind is purified, you will start getting rid of your different habits and different attachments. You will get to know when you read Bhagavad Gita. So when you read Bhagavad Gita, you will get to know in which mode you're operating. So if you see here, right, this is the three modes. Currently, there is a tug of war between our mind and intelligence, right? You'll be fluctuating between good habits and bad habits. So what is manifesting from if you are operating the mode of goodness is knowledge. Now, if you're in the mode of passion, what you manifest with your mind is your attachment, uncontrollable desire, and intense endeavor. Intense endeavor means being workaholic. And if you're in the mode of ignorance, inactivity, or madness, right? When somebody is shouting at me, if I'm in the mode of goodness, I'll keep quiet. If I'm in the mode of passion, I'll get angry. If I'm in the mode of ignorance, if my mind is in the mode of ignorance, I'll become violent and I'll start hitting him. If somebody is throwing a stone at me, this is a simple example. So when you actually chant any mantra, the power of mantra is it automatically purifies your mind and it takes you to the mode of goodness. So you will start observing changes. You will start observing changes in your habit when you follow it as a lifestyle. And the way you see things, your perception, we saw the progressive vision of Arjuna, right? Immediately his mind was taken over. So right now, your mind is dominating. Okay? Your mind is dominating your intelligence. So now you increase your intelligence spiritually, and your mind should actually serve your intelligence and not dominate. And that process is what we are recommending to chant the glories of the holy name and read Bhagavad Gita so that your mind will come to a stable state which is conducive for practicing a spiritual lifestyle. So this is what Krishna says in the 14th chapter. Mode of goodness. What are the characteristics? Right? So the first three texts, you see, right? Mode of The manifestation of mode of goodness can be experienced when all gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge. Ears, eyes, you go towards, you stop serving your senses, and then you start accepting knowledge, the spiritual knowledge. Increase in the mode of passion, symptoms of great attachment to worldly things, right? Of course, what you need is not, and it will never be equal to what you want. An intense endeavor. People say workaholic. Sometimes people work for like 20, 14, 16 hours. Sometimes it is okay. But when you understand the higher purpose, then some people genuinely, during some office end of the year or the end of the month, you will have to, it's a responsibility to meet the deadlines. But some people will do two jobs, some people will do overworking, they don't have any higher purpose. So they are all, we don't say it is wrong, but they are supposed to consider to be in the mode of passion. Hankering, and hankering develop, hankering for more money. You start comparing yourself with others, and you want to increase your lifestyle the more and more you grow. But ultimately, all of this are activities which are completely disconnected. And then when there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, that is when madness and illusion is manifested. You completely start even rejecting God because you don't want to follow any sort of spiritual lifestyle. And when you die in the mode of goodness, you attain higher planets. So above Earth, there are 7 planets, and below Earth, there are 7 planets. So when you say mode of goodness, which means you do certain activities where you want to take the credit. So which means, yeah, which is good. So you will get higher planets and you'll have some good credits. You go there, you enjoy for some time, and eventually you will come back to Earth. You will get another body to again purify your mind. So this is how we keep on reincarnating and we take different births, life after life after life. This is how the process works. This is what Vaishnavism says. And when dies in the mode of passion, they take birth among you know, different. Say, for example, you have desires to you know become a scientist. Then you will take birth in some family of scientists in the next life, or in some other planet where the modern science is more advanced. And when you want to die in the mode of ignorance, like say for example, like you keep going for hunting, right? You hunt deers in the forest. So when you die with that level of consciousness, then you take birth among the animal kingdom. So this is what Krishna says in Gita. So this is directly related to karma and incarnation. This is chapter 14. So we are not going chapter by chapter, right? So we are going theme based. So how the activities we do, how we have to interact with nature. So that is exactly what we will learn in Bhagavad Gita. Yes, Pooja.
My question is, it said that when you do good, you should not expect something in return, right? That's
Yes,
the ultimate form of doing good.
yes,
Just do good karma. My question is, when you do good karma, you do expect that your karma account, let's say, increases. So
yes,
in a way, you are expecting something in return. You're
yes,
expecting that your karma will increase.
yes. The fact that you are expecting something out of an activity means you will take a birth again. It's as simple as that. So you do that activity because now say give me an example. Give me an example. So when you say good karma, which means it is not as your bad karma. Your bad karma will take you to a lower form of life. But good karma will again put you back in a human form of life in a better family where you have opportunities to practice Vaishnavism in a better way.
Okay, so let's say higher mortals, right? Who
Hmm?
are above all this. Let's take the example of higher mortals, um, who
So
are
the example
above
of
all
what?
this. Higher mortals.
Higher mortals. What is that?
as in people who are above all this. Yeah. So,
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Let's see. Yeah.
so for example, if somebody has, you know, attained a lot of knowledge and spirituality, yeah,
Mhm.
he or she is doing good, but not expecting, any person will expect good karma in return, is my question. So again, then you are still stuck in that loop of rebirths.
If you're expecting anything in return, you will be stuck in the loop of rebirths. We don't say expecting is wrong. That completely depends on the level of intelligence and the knowledge you have. Okay? So we don't say expectation is wrong, but there is a result. There is a consequence of that particular expectation, which is reincarnation. So
So
how
you're
purified
always
are
in
your
this.
desires, or how
So
purified
you
are your expectations is something which we have to decide.
so you're forever in this loop then.
Yes, it's an infinite loop. We have been here in this loop for millions of years. That's what Bhagavad Gita says. Krishna, before taking this human form of birth, there are like 8.4 million species. Out of that 8.4 million species, there are 400,000 human forms. So before getting a human form, you have gone through all this 8.8 million species, and then you get this human form of birth. And that is why there's a lot of difference. Humans have the power to discriminate and choose whether their consciousness has to be on the material platform or take it to a spiritual platform. Whereas animals, they also eat, they also sleep, they also reproduce, they also defend. Humans also eat, humans also sleep, humans also reproduce, humans also defend. But what is that differentiating us from animals? The discriminating power, and we can choose or train our consciousness to be on the spiritual plane, whereas animals can't do that. So that's why human form of birth is meant to be or is understood to be so conducive for practicing bhakti.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes
Thank,
sense.
thank you.
Any other questions from anybody?
I just have a quick question here. So, as you mentioned that if we do something good, we should not accept that something good will happen to us. And like if we want to purify all the like our bad things which we have done in past, like what is the need if we are not like I'm just asking that question as a human being. Like if I did something good with somebody and nothing good is happening with me, then at that one point of time I'll start thinking that why am I doing this when I'm not getting any return? And if I will get all the like all the good deeds in my next janam, so I mean next life, then I should do the good thing in the next life. Like why am I doing it in this life? I mean, that doesn't make any sense, right? Being a human right now, I have so many thoughts going in my mind. Like, if I'm doing something good, I should get a return out of it. But if I'm not, why am I doing this?
So, yeah, good question. So, say for example, the fact that you have realized that you're suffering, that's the first step as humans, okay? And something bad is happening to us, which means we have caused that similar pain to somebody else in this birth unknowingly or in previous birth which we have no clue or why. So
Okay.
now we have taken this birth to purify all the karma from the previous birth. Okay.
Okay.
We have to do that because when you take birth, as per Vedic astrology, if you meet
Mm-hmm.
Vedic astrologer, he will say according to the stars and this, your life will be like this, and you will live for this many number of years, which is actually true.
Mm-hmm.
And now when you start acting in this world, you generate karma. So now, according to your previous karma, what you have accumulated, you will connect with people and those reactions will start coming to you. So, if you don't have the right spiritual knowledge, you will not have the right vision to see this. Okay. So now, when you're doing, if without that right understanding and right knowledge, if you do good, you will still not be able to get out of this mentality.
Okay.
Make sense?
Makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So now if you take up any spiritual practice, then Krishna says in Gita, he
Mm.
will destroy some of the karmas as well if you are sincere. It's possible. Which means when the karma is coming to you, your consciousness will be so pure. The reaction to that particular instance is what that gives you stress.
Okay.
You can make a
Okay.
choice of how to react when that
Mm.
particular bad instance happens to you.
Okay.
So that comes with superior intelligence, which is spiritual intelligence. Okay? And that
Mm-hmm.
is what Krishna is teaching in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6 to 12. And how to apply that is chapter 13 to 18. How to deal with the world.
Can you please show that slide again, which talks the reincarnation and the
Sorry,
so
which
if
one
you
about?
the slide which shows the reincarnation three that you were talking about.
Okay,
So,
just a
so
second.
you mentioned if you die in the state of passion,
Yes, this one,
then
right?
you
Yeah.
yes. When one dies in the state of passion, mode of passion.
Engaged in fruitive activities, like who wants to accumulate money or wealth or fame or beauty or knowledge. Say, I want to become a scientist or I want to become a millionaire.
So that's not bad. In fact, say for example, if a person wants to become a scientist,
Yeah,
so
again, that's not bad. You will take another birth. That's
anyway,
it's up to you. What is the definition of good or bad, right? That's subjective. But you will take another birth. That's it. So
so
now, why you want to become a scientist? The intention that matters. So I understand your question. So the intention. So what Krishna says the purpose of human life is self-realization, understanding who you are as the identity. Okay, this is a very good question. Good train of thought. So now, if I want to become a scientist and if I want to help people, which is good only if you take them one step closer to the path of self-realization. Otherwise, it's karma and you have to deal with it. So we don't say don't do good, but do good so that their life becomes easy to understand who they are. So now you, of course, have to. So basically, you'll have a nature of job now which is not aligning it and all that. The moment you take up any form of spiritual practice, you take one step closer to Krishna and he takes 1,000 steps closer to you. So when you start accepting this, you know, have little faith and get into some form of spiritual practice, say 15 minutes a day or 30 minutes a day, then all the other factors will be arranged accordingly automatically if your intentions are sincere.
many a times you see people who are very religious,
Yeah,
but at the same time they might be doing other bad things.
yeah,
For example, they're usually very angry or
yes,
scream at people or
yes,
not, not be. So
exactly.
that
That's a problem with that 5 points I said, right? Religion without other three, other four. So what happens to, their mind will not be properly balanced 100% if you don't have a proper understanding of all the elements. If you just say you're religious, then that's just mental speculation, basically. So you have been following that so-called truth. A lie becomes a so-called truth, which becomes a culture and which becomes a tradition, and you make that as a religion. And you just say, okay, I believe in God. Okay, I don't want to understand who I am. I don't know what happens after this life, and I'm just being a hypocrite. Simple. So now that you have the knowledge, what are you doing about it? So what Krishna says to Arjuna towards the end of Gita. So now that I have given you this knowledge, you decide and do whatever you want. He doesn't take away his independence. So it's up to us, after reading and having this understanding of Gita, how are we taking it forward? We all have a free will. Krishna doesn't take our free will from us.
Yeah.
So I have a question. So what are some acts that generate good karma? Like, let's say there's some person who's a great philanthropist and
Mm,
but he's not religious.
mm,
There's another person who's very spiritual, but he keeps looking down at people and who doesn't follow his way of life. So
mm.
who generates what kind of karma here? Which is considered good karma?
Your
Good karma is
intention.
spirituality, or good karma is
So your intention generates karma. Your intentions with which you're performing an activity, that is the generator of karma. So I am helping that person because that person is in need. Now, if I'm helping that person because tomorrow that will be useful to me, that will generate karma, right? So now philanthropists, so basically philanthropists, we can't say it's a very, very thin line, right? They haven't found a more higher purpose. So some people will start with, loving their family, and some people will be more realized, okay, along with my family, I'll start loving my community, and then that will become socialism, and that will become nationalism, which is right. And then we cannot say all that is wrong. So people's consciousness evolve. So finally, ultimately, what culminates the most topmost perfect understanding is Vaishnavism, getting out of this process of reincarnation. So eventually, yes, philanthropist is good. So he will get a next better form of life where he can have a better understanding of his purpose in life. That's how we see things. We don't say anything is wrong. So now, the fact that what the recommendation is to add a bit of spiritual element and see the results and observe the results yourselves, and at the same time keep enriching yourself with the knowledge of Gita. Gita is a good companion. That's the process which is easy, which is recommended in Vaishnavism. And the fact that Gita has the essence of all the Vedic scriptures is good, that we don't have to completely go back and read so many stuff. Not necessary, because we all have to maintain our body, to maintain our family. We all have to perform certain activities. Now, under what mode we are performing that activities is completely one's own choice. With what intensity you're performing is one's own choice. So your free will, your independence will always be with you, but be conscious. When we say consciousness, a state of being aware. So be conscious of what you do. Be mindfulness, consciousness. That's what is the most trendy topic in today's age, right? So be mindful of what activities you do, with what consciousness you do is very, very important. So before we wrap up, I'll put this in the group also. Maybe I should have told before. So 2nd of March, Saturday, will be an in-person session, okay, which will be like a practical session where we'll connect more about how to have a spiritual practice added to your life. And during the Easter weekend, we'll have a retreat as well. We will have a small entry fee for the retreat, and all of you are welcome to join in person on 2nd of March. And during the Easter weekend, we'll have a retreat. So please feel free, and you'll be connecting with more people there, more like-minded people, wherein you can get to know them, how their life started, good conversations, good music, good food.
What's the location?
We'll communicate that. It'll get confirmed in a week, and then we'll communicate the location, details, everything. Any other questions? Ashu, Nabya, Kangana, Adeep, Brandon, nice to see you.
I have one.
Yes.
Or I have one question.
Yeah.
Like we are doing the job, but it belongs is a passion. In which mode it belongs.
Depending on what, like, see, you are doing a job, which means that is basically with what intention you're doing is important, and what type of a job you're doing is important, and how do you see your job is also important. So doing a job is something which we all have to do to maintain ourselves and our family in this world. We all have to do a job. Okay, so that is basically called as varna. We'll see that in the upcoming sessions when we call as practical spirituality. So this is just an introductory session. So the next subsequent session we'll understand, how to deal with the mind, and then in-person session we'll have uh, how to have a small spiritual element in our life, and then we'll have a detailed session on practical spirituality. Okay, so how to have your current lifestyle and then add a spiritual element to it which is more sustainable, and the process of growth. Okay, so to answer your question, yes, doing a job is absolutely necessary. That is actually in the mode of goodness. Okay, now what is the purpose why you're doing that job? So the better understanding is I am doing this job so that I'll be able to maintain my body, I'll be able to maintain my family, and only if I'm healthy, I can serve Krishna and take a step closer to him. If this is the
Yeah.
understanding, yeah, because who has given you this body according to your desires? Krishna. So now if you don't perform proper actions and if you keep abusing your body, whose fault it is? Our fault. Yes. So if you have this understanding, then which is good. And of course, without job, we can't survive, right? Krishna will not do your work. You have to do only work yourself. That is something which Krishna will not do for you. So we'll have to do that, and we'll have to have an understanding that, okay, fine. That is part of your purification also, purifying your karma.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Pooja, Anushri, Amrita, Nabya, Brandon, do you have any questions?
Not as of now.
Okay.
Okay, have one.
Yeah, sure.
How is about the other planets? Like some behind and some
Yes.
yeah. How is about that?
So there are 7 planets above this earth and 7 planets below this earth. Okay. And depending on the level of enjoyment you want, the planets are designed. The more higher you go, the more you can enjoy. The higher planets are actually designed for enjoyment. Only this planet Earth is conducive for practicing, or when you say conducive, more favorable for practicing spirituality. All the other planets now here, if you're able to do it 100%, the more higher you go, that percentage keeps reducing because your mind wants to enjoy, attain heavenly planets. You want to dominate over the world. So I'd say that one point of time you want more control over the world, more control over nature. So definitely there are planets which give you that option. That's what Krishna never takes back your free will or independence. He will fulfill all your desires and he'll wait for us to go back to them.
Okay, thank you.
So the fact that we are here at one point of time, we all were in spiritual world. And just because we want to enjoy and we want to be God or become God, we are actually here because of separate interest. So now how are we
Okay.
going to align that particular interest is what Krishna teaches in Bhagavad Gita.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? Okay, if no other questions, we can close this call. But yeah, feel free to text me if you have any questions. You're all there in the WhatsApp group. You have my number. If you want to ask any private questions, feel free to text me and I'll always get back. So now I'll start posting like more videos of the questions because we have seen deeper concepts. So when you go back, reflect on this or see this recording again, you'll have more questions. So please feel free to ask them out and I'll get back to you with a response. If you don't want to ask it in the group, you can always private message me on WhatsApp or SMS. I'll definitely get back. And 2nd of March, we'll meet in person in ISKCON North Sydney, 180 Falcon Street. And end of March, during the Easter break, we'll have a retreat and the dates will be announced. Okay?
Okay.
How about the timing?
Okay.
Sorry? Yes, Kangana? Nabya, you're
No, yeah. So you said
No,
we'll
I
meet
just said
at the
it's okay.
yeah, it's like we're gonna meet in ISKCON, but like what time?
yes, I'll communicate that. It'll be around 4 to 4:30 in the evening. Yeah, around like 4 to 4:30, so that you all will be coming via public transport, right? So around 4:30 we'll meet and we'll serve dinner also. We'll have a small session and we'll socialize, get to know people, whoever is coming, and then yeah, we can head back. All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining today's class. And in next week we'll go more deeper into how we are purifying our mind so that we can elevate our consciousness. All right? Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare
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 Krishna.
Krishna.
Ah.